you're an octopus, right? You literally cannot drown.
Safety first.
Oh, me.
Hold on, Nick Jr. was hella underrated, so let's talk about it. Man, oh man, I can't tell you guys how excited I am to make this video. Today we're going on a really chill adventure and we'll be visiting that portion of my brain that holds happy childhood memories. So what am I talking about? Well, even though SpongeBob is the very first cartoon I ever fell in love with, these specific cartoons we're going to be talking about today hold a very special place in my heart. These shows were absolutely amazing, and I consider each and every one I'm going to be naming today a classic. Although these shows are more kiddie and are meant for a even younger audience, I still think a lot of these shows can hold up even to this day if I watch them as an adult. So yeah, drop a like on the video, as my landlord has promised me he'll be evicting me later on tonight if I can't get a decent amount of likes on this video. Seriously, you guys, like the video. The first show I wanted to reminisce about is Maggie and the Ferocious Beast. Man, this show was amazing. I feel like a kid again getting excited to watch this show. Maggie and the Ferocious Beast was a Canadian animated children's television series. The show began as a series of shorts aired on the Canadian channel Teletoon in 1998, and in the USA, the first full-length episode premiered on Nickelodeon's Nick Jr. block on June 5th, 2000. The series ran for 3 seasons, airing its final episode on June 9, 2002. The show is about a young girl named Maggie who creates her own map of this imaginary world known as Nowhere Land. That in reality takes the characters nowhere. The map was pretty much for show. Now Maggie was the best friend of Hamilton and the Ferocious Beast, and pretty much they both looked up to Maggie very much and always turned to her for advice. Maggie was pretty much the leader of the group and is always there to be the compassionate voice of reason for her best friends. Now Hamilton is a pig who can be a bit bossy and quite fussy at times. He lives inside a portable cardboard box which he loves, and as a kid I always found it amusing how he would pull gigantic things out of this box. This box sorta had superpowers, if you know what I mean, just like SpongeBob and Patrick's old box. Hamilton was also the best cook in Nowhere Land and is a total clean freak and was known for going crazy about his favorite sweater. Man, you better not spill anything on his sweater, bruh. And on the other hand, the Ferocious Beast, who appears ferocious but is actually gentle and kind, this man was pretty much a half bear, half pig, half elephant, and half cow. I didn't even realize this as a kid, to be honest. This is crazy. And on top of all of that, this man has these huge red removable spots with a actual human head with 3 horns. Yeah, now that I'm really thinking about it, what the actual fuck? I never noticed how weird looking Beast was. But yeah, these 3 were best friends and would go on all type of adventures together, and as a kid I really adored this show. Next up, I wanted to talk about Little Bear. Little Bear is a Canadian educational children's animated series produced in the UK. To be honest, I never knew a lot of these shows were made in the UK. Man, the UK be having some banger shows. Now the show premiered on Nickelodeon as part of the Nick Jr. block, of course, on Monday, November 6, 1995, until the final episode airing on Friday, November 7, 2003. This show also aired on CBS on Saturday mornings from September 16, 2000 until September 15, 2001. This was another show from my childhood that would literally just give me peace whenever I watched it. The theme song of this show was so good. Set in the US wilderness around the end of the 19th century, Little Bear goes on exciting adventures and learns new things with his friends, Emily, Duck, Hen, Cat, and Owl. He lives with his mother and dad. Mother Bear was a homemaker who looks after Little Bear, while Father Bear, a fisherman, would typically be away on his ship fishing. Emily was a 7-year-old little girl who is Little Bear's best friend. She carries around a doll named Lucy everywhere she goes and is very attached to her. Man, I forgot all about Lucy. How's it going? Owl is a male owl who is sometimes self-centered, yet very sensible. He lives in a treehouse and can be very serious at times. Although Owl enjoys fun games, he will only participate if the gameplay is logical and rational. And as you can imagine, with this man being an owl, his favorite hobby was reading. Now Duck was a female duck who came off a bit slow and smart at the same time. She was the one always getting herself into comical situations. Cat on the other hand was laid back, even though he came off kind of slothful at times. But as you can imagine, with this man being a cat, he pretty much enjoyed prowling at night, playing tricks on people, and eating. Pretty much when his friends and he must get to a certain place in the woods, Cat often leads them through one of his shortcuts. This man was lazy for sure, but very knowledgeable. And last but not least, you had Hen, who is a fussy, feisty chicken who lives in a large chicken coop. Hen was classy and sophisticated and enjoys cleanliness, though her several nieces and nephews often mess up her spotless house. You gotta love the kids. Next, I wanted to talk about Franklin. This show was goated and is sitting at the top of my favorites from my childhood, especially from Nick Jr. Franklin was an animated educational children's television series. The show focuses on the life of this young turtle as he goes through life learning many valuable lessons while experiencing new things, and as we all know, Franklin could count by twos and tie his shoes. That line was so iconic as we would hear it every time the show started. Franklin goes to school and lives in a small village called Woodland with his friends and has many adventures playing and learning in the world around him, sometimes with the helping hand of an adult such as his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Turtle. Pretty much Franklin likes swimming, arts and crafts, especially drawing, and loves shoe fly pie. I think I'll have a slice. Hold the flies though. He is also known to be scared of the dark, as we've seen many times throughout the show, but his favorite plush doll Sam would always be there to comfort and protect him, along with his favorite blanket. Franklin's family includes his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Turtle, and his younger sister Harriet. Mr. and Mrs. Turtle are presented as gentle and loving parents who provides direction and guidance for Franklin, as well as reasonable discipline when needed. His sister Harriet was born in the film Franklin and the Green Knight and was featured in stories in the 5th and 6th season of the program. Franklin's best friend was Bear, who is also a bear that loves to eat, and in later seasons has a sister named Patrice. Franklin was also friends with Snail, who actually considered Franklin as his best friend, and as a kid watching this show, I always loved how kind and gentle Snail was. I don't think I can say the same for Beaver though. She was probably the only character out of the entire show that would consistently get on my nerves. She would always talk with this sarcastic tone and had this bad attitude all the time. To be honest, she also had some shiesty ways. I just couldn't stand her. Some of his other friends were Goose, Rabbit, Fox, Badger, Raccoon, and Skunk. They would all attend the same school, which was ran by Mr. Owl. Mr. Owl is patient and resolves conflicts peacefully in the classroom often, because we know Franklin and his friends don't always see eye to eye. But anyways, this show definitely comes to mind when I think about great Nick Jr. shows. Did you watch Franklin growing up? Let me know in the comments. Next, we have the Backyardigans. This was no doubt one of the greatest Nick Jr. shows of all freaking time. This show had everything a kid needed in a show. Great characters, solid episode plots that would keep you engaged, and don't forget about the classic music. Yeah, don't even get me started on the music in this show. It was freaking amazing. So what exactly was the Backyardigans? The Backyardigans is a CGI animated television series created by Janice Burgess. This show aired from October 11, 2004 to July 12, 2013. It centers on a group of 5 animal friends who use their imaginations to embark on fantastic adventures in their shared backyards. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was why this show was so freaking amazing. I can't tell you guys how many times I found myself in the middle of summer as a kid with nothing to do. Sometimes me and my friends using our imaginations will be the only thing that will save us from absolute boredom. Now each episode is set to a different musical genre and features at least 4 songs performed by the characters with original choreography. This was pretty lit if you ask me. In each of these episodes, the show's main characters rely on their vivid imaginations to transform their backyards into completely different worlds, and the stories would always end just in time for one of them to invite the others to their house for a snack. I was always salty when I went on this adventure with them as a viewer, but could never get the snack with them at the end. Bruh, I knew I wasn't the only one. The show has 5 main characters: Uniqua, Pablo, Tyrone, Tasha, and Austin. Uniqua being the only character who appears in every single episode. Did you guys watch the Backyardigans as a kid? Let me know in the comments down below. Next, I wanted to talk talk about Oswald. I fell in love with this gentle giant as a kid. Oswald is an American children's animated television series aired in the United States on August 20th, 2001. A blue octopus named Oswald who resides in a big city where nearly everyone is an object or creature, and many of the buildings and vehicles are shaped like everyday objects. He lives in an apartment complex with his pet Weenie. Oswald was gentle, polite, and kind-hearted, and would do pretty much anything to help his friends. One of the episodes I thoroughly remember when Oswald was attempting to get this ice cream up the steps of his apartment building before it could melt, of course. He ended up putting hella ice cream scoops on this one cone, and they all kept melting before he could get upstairs. I just loved this episode. Some of the reoccurring side characters in this show consisted of Henry, who is Oswald's neighbor and closest friend. Henry was a penguin and a creature of habit, often shunning the idea of trying different things. He does his best to maintain a rigid schedule, which includes taking care of his extensive spoon collection and also ending every evening watching his favorite TV show, Penguin Patrol. This man really had a spoon collection. I really can't believe this. Some of the other characters consisted of Daisy, who is a free-spirited, energetic flower who participates in sports and other activities. She is a close friend of Oswald and Henry, and the three of them often go on adventures together. The nostalgia is really starting to hit me now, I'm not gonna lie. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about Max and Ruby. This show was phenomenal, and I know many of you share the same great memories while watching this show. This series debuted on Treehouse TV on May 3rd, 2002 in Canada, and on Nick Jr. on January 7th, 2003 in the United States. Max and Ruby is about two bunnies, Max a rambunctious and determined 3-year-old, and his sister Ruby a patient, goal-oriented, and sometimes restrictive 7-year-old. This series takes place in a fictional town called East Bunny Hop, in a universe populated by mostly bunnies and other creatures in the 1940s and 1950s. I actually didn't know this show was based so far back before making this video. I never caught this while watching it as a kid, so that's pretty interesting to me. Also, I can definitely say I was confused while watching this show as a kid, with me always wondering where their parents were. I mean, they had a sweet grandmother who would come over and sometimes do things for them, but for the most part they lived alone, and Ruby took care of Max. The reason behind this show ending was pretty disturbing as well, with it being rumored that Max had some type of head injury he sustained in a car accident that allegedly killed his parents, and basically Ruby was left to care for Max. That's pretty freaking disturbing. So yeah, apparently Ruby has OCD as she's always cleaning up behind Max, and Max has autism apparently. Now keep in mind these were rumors going around online, and while nothing is wrong with Max having autism if he did at the time of this show, I'm pretty sure that didn't come from a car accident if it was true. Autism is more of a hereditary disease, so it couldn't possibly come from a brain injury in a car crash. So Max having autism and the whole rumored car crash thing doesn't really add up. But I will admit, the whole parents dying and Ruby being left to care for Max theory is definitely creepy. So did you watch Max and Ruby growing up? Let me know down below. Man, if you ask me, all of these shows are considered classics in my book, and while most of them can be a bit too kiddie at times for my liking now, these were some great shows that not only entertained me as a kid, but taught me certain values as well, so I'll never forget them. Also, some honorable mentions are Little Bill, Lazy Town, Bob the Builder, Maisie, Thomas and Friends, and Miss Spider's Sunny Patch Friends. All these shows were great shows, and if you watch any of them as a kid, let me know down below where these shows rank on your list. Also, here are more videos if you would like more chill content to binge, but until next time, peace.